Hey y'all, hey. Listen, this is my third time trying to do this filter free Friday today, and I was just gonna leave it alone. But my friend Kyle said redo it because he said he couldn't hear. Um, so I just wanted to, which does take away from the extemporaneous nature of this thing, by the way. I had a person who helped me when I was at Hallmark, transition from engineering into learning and development. And her name was Mary Beth Edmeyer. And Mary Beth was the same personality type as me, as on Myers Briggs, which is ENTP. And there are plenty of people who don't like Myers Briggs because they're like, Isabel Meyer and Catherine Briggs were racist. But my question to those people is, what white people in the 1920s in the United States of America can you find who did not have some racist ideas? Like it's highly unlikely, quite frankly. And the tool can be used for most people, not all, to help people figure out what things they're good at with their communication, what things they're bad at with their communication, how they can improve, um, and just to even build trust to understand folks a little better. But I remember when I first met Mary Beth, she was like, look, there's good things about people and bad things about people. No matter how many times you do these competencies assessments for anybody you coach, there are going to be some competencies, 30% of them that are going to be in their top. There are going to be 20% that are in their bottom. 50% of the things are going to be in the middle that they can flex around. Period. Everybody. There's no exception. There's nobody where they're just like, oh my God, everything about you is just amazing. Laura, I am not shocked that you are an F, but you speak truth to power unlike any other I've known. And what's interesting, I think I'm glad you shared that because sometimes the tension between F's and T's are that people who have preferences for T's tend to be more logical and reasonable and questioning and critical. And Laura, you are many of those things, and I've seen it play out. And people who generally have preferences for F's tend to be more value based in their decision making, tend to be more empathetic and compassionate and harmonious, and generally, if we got 10 things to talk about and we agree on 8, don't necessarily need to talk about the 2, and it's the beauty is in recognizing that all of our strengths meld and work together, and those places where we lack, it's good to have friends or colleagues who can help us out in those spaces. And so I think there's this funny story that I had to share from this week. One of my neighbors shared with me that people were saying, I don't know how many people there are, child, every time somebody say they or people, all I can think about is my mama. When you would come to her and be like, they this or they that, or people this or people that, she'd be like, who is they? Who is people? And you would be in so much trouble. She wanted names, honey. If you didn't have no name, she didn't want to hear nothing about it. But anyway, I was told that word on the street is that since I got my doctorate, that my head has gotten big. Now, let me just say, I have never wanted to quit something so bad in my entire life. That doctoral process, the rigor associated with that capstone project, I wanted to quit almost every day. In fact, if I hadn't invested so much money in it, I would have quit. So when I was conferred that degree, honey, and it was like, you, Dr. Nicole Price, I really don't. I'm supposed to not be saying I don't care what people think, because I do care deeply what people think. But it's Dr. Nicole Price. That's what it is. That's what it is. And if you don't like it, you ain't got to say it. It ain't like if you call me Nicole, I'm gonna be like, what is that? Child, I told my son, change my name in your phone to Dr. Nicole Price. It don't need to be Mama. It need to be Dr. Nicole Price. I've never worked so hard for something in my life, ever. And so what people want, I think sometimes, is this false humility. I don't have false humility about it. I am incredibly proud of it. And quite frankly, I think it's wonderful when people have to say doctor sometimes and they don't think of black people, black women in this way. Because one of the common thoughts that I hear often when we're talking about increasing diversity on teams is that we have to somehow lessen our credentials or something like that. And I'm like, Who has more academic credentials than any other demographic in this country is Black women. So you got gender diversity there and you got racial diversity there, and don't nobody want to hear what you talking about with the whole we got to lessen credentials. And so sometimes, look, I know I won an entire court case once because my lawyer asked me what was my educational background. And the moment I said chemical engineer, you could hear the audible gasp in the courtroom like, ooh, it is not fair. It is biased. And it worked in my favor. Okay. And so when I think about being an ENTP, which you don't need to know what that is, just know that it is someone who likes to talk more than they like to listen. It is someone who deals in the conceptual very well, very logical, reasonable, and casual and open-ended. That is what makes me an amazing speaker from the stage. That is what gives me the opportunity to be able to, at the last minute, if necessary, to go up in front of thousands of people. In fact, one of my best moments in my whole life was when I got called on the stage by New Edition in front of 7,500 of my closest friends, and I couldn't wait to get my opportunity to sing Mr. Telephone Man. They didn't ask me to sing, but I was ready for my dance. And child, if you think about all the fruits of the spirit, humility just ain't the one I got. Okay. I got 7 of them. I don't have humility. And quite frankly, when something amazing happens in my life, the first thing I think about is not how I can be like, oh no, I didn't really deserve it. Listen, I'm grateful beyond measure, but I'm about to turn up when things go well. You know why I'm about to turn up when things go well? Because things have not always gone well. They have not always gone well. I'm like, look, I was born and forged in the fire, honey. And so when this thing come out shiny on the other side, look, if this light, look, y'all see that shine right there? If it's blinding you, put your sunglasses on, because I cannot bend and twist and turn. And I'm inviting y'all in the book, Between the World and Me, Ta-Nehisi Coates told his son, be who you are uniquely called to be, because all that bending and twisting and turning, it ain't gonna help no way. And if I know one thing for certain and 2 things for sure, that's the truth, child. That is the absolute truth. But what I love about what the person who was sharing the information with me, Cecilia, is that she told them, well, did y'all know her before? Because her head was big before. And what I'm gonna tell you is, look, man, when you are born in poverty, in the height of the crack cocaine epidemic, the 6th child of 7, fighting and clawing and twisting for everything you ever get, and then people suggest that it's somehow not because of any work that you've done, it's only because of handouts, you start to go, you know what? I work hard for whatever. If I was living under a bridge right now and had a basket with some stuff in it, I worked hard for that basket with that stuff in it. And if you don't like it, hold on. You look, there it is. You see that shine? Put your sunglasses on. And the rest of y'all need to lean into who God uniquely called you to be too. Because today, had he lived, Malcom X would have been 98 years old. And people think about things like so far in the past and like they're over. But, you know, Bob Barker's still walking around here. So I'm of the opinion that Malcom X could still be walking around here. And he has this quote about condemnation. And let me read it so I can get it exactly right. Don't be in a hurry to condemn, because he doesn't do what you do or think as you think or as fast. There was a time when you didn't know what you know today. Malcom X. Here's the thing. When I think back to what I didn't know and what I know now, that is what fuels my empathy journey. Because I get it. I get it when somebody is walking directly in the path of what God has them to do. It can feel a little envious and a little jealous. I've been there before. I have felt envy. I have felt jealousy. I know what it's like. But here's the solution to that. Get wholehearted. Get wholehearted into what you're supposed to be doing, child. Get wholehearted into what you're supposed to be doing. And when I look at, you know, how we getting distracted by what's going on down in Florida with Mr. DeSantis and all, listen here. Let me tell you what. This is not personality. And I need you to see that empathy, cognitive empathy necessarily, not necessarily emotional empathy. Emotional empathy, one thing I keep getting stuck on, emotional empathy is really hard to teach. If you don't feel emotion, it's hard for me to teach you how to feel emotion as an adult. It can be taught, but it's hard. When I'm saying empathy can be taught, I'm talking about the mental empathy, the brain, getting you to think and put yourself in the shoes of another, recognizing that whatever they think, feel, and believe makes total sense to them. So this dude, he down here in Florida, he's like, nope, we ain't gonna do no diversity and inclusion training. Nope, we ain't gonna talk about Black studies. Nope, we ain't gonna talk about LGBTQ issues. Yep, we gonna take people's kids away from them if they do gender affirming care. All of that. And then he says, but I'm requiring Asian American Pacific Islander studies. It's Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I celebrate it. I think these are good things. But let me tell you what God knows. That ain't ignorance. That's a man that knows distract, divide, destroy as a strategy to be able to win elections. And he knows that if he can dip into the model minority myth, that he can get Asian people to vote for him because they just a little closer to his whiteness. And so that's all you need to get some votes. And here's what I'm telling you. Empathy actually helps you to get into his brain and not think about things as if it were you and go, oh my God. No, it's like what he's doing makes total sense. And if you Disney, take your $1 billion project somewhere else. But if you're not Disney, what have you been uniquely called to do? What are you using your skill, talent, and ability for in order to be able to overcome the DeSantis's in your space? Because I could argue that he's probably more dangerous in some ways than former President Donald John Trump, because many times, because of the way that Trump would express himself, people would dismiss him. But Mr. DeSantis, child, he sound reasonable. And you can say things over and over and over and over and over again, no matter how wrong it is, and people will start to believe it. And so I got back on here on this Filter Free Friday to try this thing a third time, even though the sound wasn't working, to say what the world needs is each of us, instead of looking at other people, telling them what they need to do. Because I work harder on my own personal development than anybody I know. I'm in therapy every week. I got a spiritual advisor. I got executive coach. I take wise counsel. I talk to an 80-year-old man every day, listen to what he's saying, rolling it through what I need to do with it. I listen to my own kid tell me about my stuff. Okay? I'm not suggesting that we don't take feedback, but I'm telling you, condemnation and criticism. What you say? Child, look here. There might be something wrong with me. I might have a little whatever this is. I don't care. Because look at that shine, see? And discovering your strengths is critical to the world being a better place, and to us being able to launch this empathy revolution. I can't do this by myself. But I know well-meaning people are sitting around here not stepping into the power that they have. Why not? Because they concerned about what somebody who ain't never done no self-work ever is thinking about them. And take it from somebody who's been in the church my whole life, who has done executive coaching for almost 20 years, who gets to be in private spaces with some of the most powerful people in the world. Everybody got something. Everybody got something they need to be working on. And everybody got something they don't want you to know. And if you watch this week, I read a post from Crystal Rucker. Listen, the woman, if I could sing like Crystal Rucker, let me tell you, God knew not to give me a voice like Crystal Rucker. Do you hear me? Because if I had a voice like Crystal Rucker, child, I'd be terrible. You think I ain't humble right now? Child, I'd be one of them people at the funerals. They done close the casket, everybody calm down, and I just come in there like Suge Avery from Color Purple, like walking down the aisle, like just too much. Like certain stuff, I just can't have that additional skill set. But Crystal Rucker, you ever hear that woman just stand up there and flat-footed singing? She gonna post that she has people say she ain't got it, that sometimes she don't know about her talent. Crystal Rucker. What? If she ain't got it, I don't want it, is what I'm saying. And so how many of you are listening to people out here talking about you got a big head and you trying to, you know what's worse than no humility? Fake humility. An ENTP ain't gonna be the most humble person. This ain't. Look at an ISFJ for that if you want humility. It ain't me. But you know what I do have? Many of the other 7 of the fruits of the spirit: long suffering, patience, mercy. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. Look, you better tell these people worry about themselves. Why they worried about you, child? Because, honey, all that bending and turning and twisting ain't gonna help. No way. So, better come over here and get you one of these. Some self confidence. It's filter free Friday, y'all. Got work to do.